All right, let's just get right into it. This is the multi-trillion-dollar question, isn't it? The one every single investor is thinking about. With all this incredible power we have now in artificial intelligence, can it actually tell us when the next big stock market crash is coming? Can it give us a heads up before it's too late? And the anxiety around this, it's totally real. I mean, you look at the headlines these days, and this question is anything but academic. People are genuinely spooked, asking if we're staring down the barrel of another 2008-style meltdown. Are we about to see a repeat of that whole global financial crisis? And that's because the parallels, well, they're pretty unsettling, to be honest. It's like a weird sense of déjà vu. The economic picture right now has some, let's just say, eerie similarities to the time right before the Great Recession. I mean, take the housing market, for example. Just like back then, we're seeing it start to cool off after a massive, incredible run-up. And look at this list. These aren't just vague feelings. These are specific, flashing red lights. You've got that cooling real estate market we just talked about, and then there's the big one, the classic recession predictor, an inverted yield curve. That sounds complicated, but all it really means is that the market thinks the short term is riskier than the long term, which is, completely backwards. It's a huge sign of no confidence in the future. So you throw in all this massive debt and the fact that people are just feeling less confident about spending, and yeah, it really does feel like we've seen this movie before. But here's the twist in the plot. There's one massive difference between now and 2008. We have a brand new tool in our toolbox, something that could completely change the game. And that new player on the field is, you guessed it, artificial intelligence. The big hope, right? That AI, with its insane ability to crunch just mountains of data in the blink of an eye, could be the crystal ball we've always wanted, our early warning system. But the real question is that just wishful thinking? Okay, so to even begin to answer that, we have to grapple with why prediction is so darn hard in the first place. And that brings us to a huge concept called the black swan problem. You can almost think of it as the ghost that haunts every single economic forecast. So what on earth is a black swan? Well, imagine something that comes completely out of left field. No one sees it coming, it hits, and it has this massive world-changing impact. And then, and this is the key part, only after it's all over do we look back and convince ourselves, oh yeah, the signs were all there, we should have seen that. The guy who came up with this idea, Nassim Nicholas Taleb, put it perfectly. He said a black swan has 3 traits. It's an outlier, it has an extreme impact, and our own human nature makes us cook up explanations for it after it happens. It's the ultimate hindsight bias. A perfect example, the rise of the internet, a total game changer that basically nobody saw coming in its full form. But here's a really important little twist. Not every major event is a total out-of-the-blue black swan. Some crises are more like storms. You can actually see gathering on the horizon. And that is where AI might just have its superpower. So let's break this down a bit. You've got your black swans. Those are the complete unknowns. Then you've got gray swans. These are events we can actually imagine happening. They're conceivable, but they just seem, well, pretty unlikely. And then there are white swans. These are the big ones, the high-impact events that we were almost certain are going to happen, eventually. And you want a perfect recent example? Think about COVID-19. Taleb himself argued that the pandemic was not a black swan. Why? Because scientists and epidemiologists had been shouting from the rooftops for years that a global pandemic wasn't a matter of if, but when. It was a known risk, a high-probability catastrophe. It was a white swan. The massive failure there wasn't in our ability to predict it. It was in our failure to prepare for it. Okay, so even if AI gets really good at spotting these more predictable white swans, just relying on it isn't so simple. And this brings us to some really big ethical and practical problems. You could call it AI's Achilles heel when it comes to prediction. This diagram here really gets to the heart of the issue. When you use AI in finance, you're constantly stuck in this ethical tug of war. You want more efficiency, right? Faster, better decisions, but you also need to ensure fairness. And those two goals, they don't always play nicely together. And one of the biggest ethical headaches is bias. See, AI systems learn from historical data. It's the only world they know. So what happens if that historical data is full of our own past biases and discrimination? Well, the AI doesn't just learn it, it can actually amplify it. A famous example of this was the Apple Card algorithm, which was accused of giving women smaller credit limits than men, even when they had very similar financial profiles. That's a huge problem. And then you have what's called the black box problem. This one's a real mind bender. The most powerful AIs, they make decisions in ways that are so complex that they are literally impossible for us humans to fully understand. It's like a magic box. You put your question in, you get an answer out, but you have no idea what happened inside. You can't ask it, hey, how did you get that answer? And that leads to a huge, critical question. If an algorithm makes a catastrophic mistake, who is to blame? I mean, if an AI tanks someone's life savings, who gets the lawsuit? The people who built the AI? The bank that decided to use it? This is what we call the accountability gap, and it's a massive legal and ethical minefield. So where does all this leave us? It means we probably need to stop thinking about AI as a fortune teller. The goal has to shift. We need to move away from asking for prophecies and start using it to help us manage risk in a much, much smarter way. Let's just be absolutely clear about this. AI is not a crystal ball. It's not magic. It simply cannot predict the truly unpredictable things, those genuine black swans. But what it can do is help us build something else, robustness. The idea is to use AI to create financial systems that are less fragile. Think of it like a boxer who can take a punch and stay standing, instead of a glass cannon that shatters at the first hit. It's about surviving the bad stuff, so you're still around to take advantage of the good stuff. And that right there is the key takeaway from all of this. For so long, we've been asking the wrong question. The goal isn't prediction, it's preparation. The real holy grail here isn't using AI to see the future perfectly. It's using AI to build a system that's prepared for any future. We don't need a psychic, we need a shock absorber. So I'll leave you with this final thought experiment. After everything we've talked about today, the incredible promise, but also the very real limitations and the ethical traps, let's say an advanced AI told you with 99% certainty that the market was going to crash tomorrow. What would you do? Would you trust it? Would you liquidate everything? And maybe the more interesting question is, why would you make that choice? That's something to chew on.